Money FM 89.3, the best of Saturday mornings. Saturday morning sit down.
Welcome back to the show. Glenn van Zutphen and Neil Humphreys with you. Our Saturday morning sit-down conversation, we are going to talk about the M1 Singapore Fringe Festival. We are very happy to have in the studio with us Shrey Bhargava, actor of Eclipse, and Cheryl Ho, playwright and performer, actor in I Am Seaweed. Welcome to you both. Glad to have you both with us today.
Oh, we're excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yay!
Absolute
Okay,
pleasure.
the M1 Festival is coming up the 8th to the 19th of January. There are 7 different shows, as I understand, of which you are both involved in 2. Let's start with ladies first. Cheryl, give us a quick overview of I Am Seaweed. What is that all about?
Yes, I Am Seaweed follows a character called Cheryl with an S in her pursuit to be as self-sufficient and resilient as seaweed at the expense of herself.
And where did you get the idea? I read it was something to do with COVID-19 lockdown and
Yes.
miso soup.
Yeah, so I was living in Sydney in 2021, and I had a flatmate who would always make miso soup, and there was one day they were putting dried wakame in
Right.
the miso soup, and the seaweed just expanded, and they were like, "Oh, it's amazing how these things, like how big they get." And I told them, like, you know, some things when put under pressure, they expand. And I looked them straight in the eye, and I was like, I am seaweed. And I was like, show idea. That's where it came from.
That simple. So having some miso soup.
An interesting
I love
premise,
it.
but what's I Am Seaweed actually about?
I think it is a semi-autobiographical piece, so it's largely inspired by my experience in life. And I guess my attempt to kind of work through like my sensitive nature or like overthinkingness and trying to be resilient at the same time, but also realizing while pursuing that, there's some parts of myself that I lost. So it's kind of a reflection of all that and kind of lessons and trying to explore the kind of life I actually want to live, with my kind of psyche, I would say.
And you should see the animation with
I know.
which Cheryl is giving us the detail on this. It's beautiful. Shrey, let's talk a little bit about what you're doing with Eclipse. Shrey Bhargava is the actor that is performing that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Eclipse is a one-man show. So it's a monologue from start to finish, about 60 to 70 minutes in length. And it tells a story about a Singaporean Indian man who is taking his father's ashes back to his father's birthplace in Pakistan. And in doing that, he retraces his father's life and his grandfather's life and rediscovers the history of the partition of India in 1947 and contends with all of that and comes to terms with where he stands as a Singaporean Indian and with that history and what it means and also the relationships and confronts what's happening around the world and how he could possibly find light amid the darkness.
Now, what's fascinating about this particular play, first, it's written by Harish Sharma, who was on our show just before Christmas, a doyen, a legend of the sort of the stage scene in Singapore. That's number one. Number two, I know he's put this production on in different places around the world. I think Scotland, he staged it before. So big shoes to fill there, Shrey. I mean, what was it like when he came, or tell us how it went, when he came to you and approached you about playing this very important role for him?
Harish has been very, very kind. He approached me after, we worked together actually first on The Prose and the Passion earlier this year. And he told me about it and he said, let's, get you in for an audition and let's do this. And I said, well, sure, I would love to. I mean, to me, and she hates when I say this, but I grew up studying his plays in school. So, it ages him.
Neil
so
gets
he
that kind of thing all the time.
So for me, to work on Harish's text and his writing is a privilege. And so to come into the audition room and just, throw darts on the dartboard, right, and see if it sticks. It was a fun experience, and he was very kind and very accommodating. And then a few weeks later, I heard the news that, they would like to cast me. And then since then, I've been pretty much on a panic mode.
Yeah. Well, because you're playing, if I got it right, you're playing 3 different generations, the son, the father, the grandfather, non-stop monologue, 60, 70 minutes.
Yep.
This is about as tough as theatre work gets.
Yeah, so for me, it was really also a personal challenge. I wanted to take it on because as an actor, being on stage alone with no one else to rely on, and to play these different characters and really rely on your acting ability to differentiate these characters and help the story make sense was something I was always terrified by. but I wanted to push myself to do it. So
wonderful.
I said, it was the best opportunity I could ask for. The story is so specific to my cultural background as well, with my family and my grandparents' history and all of that. So I felt I had to do this.
Cheryl, is yours also a monologue?
Yes.
I Am Seaweed?
Yeah, it's also a one-woman show.
Yeah.
I guess similar in a way, there are different characters within the show, but I think for my show, there's a lot more like voiceovers that are involved that are still played by me, but are different characters within the play. So similarly, that kind of like challenge of being alone in the space, and because I guess when you're alone, like if you lose where you are in the piece, you just completely lost, and you have to somehow find.
You're the
your
playwright,
way.
Cheryl. I'm assuming you're not going to lose your place.
No, well, people
You
have
wrote
this,
the thing. I mean,
people
come on.
have this assumption that like, oh, you wrote the play, so you have it all down. I'm like, no,
Really?
Like, yeah, for me. Like after I wrote it and edited it, I had to study the play again as an actor, but I guess I still had like a deeper understanding of the context of it because I wrote it, but I still had to do the work of an actor to memorize it and then like block it, and yeah,
we take you behind the curtain here on Saturday mornings to hear the playwright even say that they have to study their own script.
I have an image now of you on stage in rehearsal, stumbling on a line, saying, "Who wrote this?"
Yeah, I know. There are moments I'm like,
author?
why did I write it like that?
But that's an interesting point. Many times, of course, we know this in radio. A written script is not the same as a spoken script, right? And so when you were writing it, and then when you started acting it yourself, did you realize that things needed to be changed?
Oh, definitely. I think I write very much from an actor's perspective. So I do write with the kind of like idea that I'm going to perform, at least for this piece, like I knew that I was going to perform it. But when you perform it in the show itself, like the pace changes, the blocking changes, you realize there are things that you do have to change, especially for new works as well.
Yeah. And Shrey, when you were performing and practicing Eclipse, obviously you have to stick pretty close to to the script, Haresh's script, right? You're not going to mess with that too much. But are you able to sort of make some alterations in it to make it yours?
Well, not textually. I think, but Haresh has been in the room too, and because the text was written a while ago, and with Yagnia's direction, things have changed a little bit. So Haresh has been very open to like change a few things. So like a bit of our third act, we've been swapping things around, moving things around.
Some evolution of it.
Yeah, so the script has evolved, but not with major additions or changes, but restructuring rather, just so that it flows a lot better and has that experience and build up in that piece. So, but as an actor myself, I can't just change the lines and do any of that. I have to stick to it, and we also. For accessibility, we also have subtitles in the show. So that's another terrifying thing as an actor. When you're going to be on stage, and if you paraphrase or change a line or slip up, well, the audience is going to know. So we, keep ourselves to the highest of standards to try to make sure that everything is word perfect.
Yeah, we're talking with Shrey Bhargava, the actor of Eclipse, and Cheryl Ho, the playwright and the actor in I Am Seaweed, both at the M1 Singapore Fringe Festival between the 8th to the 19th of January. Have both of you performed in the Fringe Festival before?
No, not
for
not
Cheryl.
No, it's my first time.
So what does that mean for you guys to be involved in it? It's such a prestigious, in Singapore, it's a prestigious festival. Cheryl?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to present my own works in Singapore. I haven't really had the chance to so far. I've mostly done my works in Australia. So I'm really excited, and I think because everyone in Singapore theatre knows the Fringe. So it's a really good platform, I guess, to perform my own work, for the first time in Singapore in this capacity. Yeah.
That was going to be the question I asked you, Shrey, because listening to both of you now, it's so inspiring hearing your passion come out as young Singaporean artists. Sometimes myself as a writer get a little bit despondent about how things are in Singapore, but then I hear your passion, it reinvigorates me. How important is something like the Singapore Fringe Festival for young up-and-coming artists, writers, performers like yourselves?
Oh, it's an incredibly important platform because, the Fringe showcases shows that, are quote-unquote on the fringe, right? And so it provides opportunities for artists who may not necessarily be shown, or have the opportunity to show their works in other places to then have them showcased here. And over the years, I mean, the Fringe has shown a bunch of amazing shows and also built the careers of a lot of theatre practitioners over the years as well. And speaking of that, I mean, the M1 Fringe Festival, sadly, they're losing the sponsor. And so they've started a fundraising effort to keep the Fringe alive. So this, we don't want this to happen. We don't want this to be the last season of the Fringe, which would be heartbreaking for both of us too. It's like our first Fringe and it's the last two, and we don't want to end it on that. So if folks would like to donate to the Fringe, they can go to necessary.org and contribute. They're looking to raise about 50,000, and I think they're 40% there. So it goes till about April 2025. So if anyone would like to support the Fringe, it
for
would
some
be
of
a
our
huge
folks
thing.
in Singapore, 50,000 is their expenses bill.
They just
right?
spent more than that on plane tickets to go to Europe and come back.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just sticking with that point with Cheryl, you say you do a lot of work in Australia. I read your bio. You are well placed to talk about the value of fringe theatre because it's such a big thing. I used to live in Australia, Melbourne, Sydney. They have such a vibrant fringe theatre scene. For the benefit of our listeners, explain why it's so important to the ecosystem in Singapore.
Yeah, I guess because in general for theatre shows, you need to be programmed to have a platform to showcase your work. Whereas Fringe, it's generally open access, meaning that anyone can apply for it. In Singapore, there is a curation process, but still anyone is able to apply for it, able to get their work to be seen. And it's a very precious opportunity because you're utilizing a bigger platform to showcase your work. And it's because I guess there's so many people trying to make new works, it's really hard to get your work seen. So for a platform like Fringe to exist, it's really beneficial for especially like upcoming theatre makers as well. Yeah.
No, 100%. I agree. I think that's really what it's about, that accessibility to have a show showcased. Anyone can submit, you see, to the Fringe and have their show considered. Whereas for outside the Fringe, oftentimes you have to be commissioned either by a theatre company or they have their own roster or a slew of shows that they're doing for the year, right? But for independent artists, especially if you have a show like Cheryl, who's written her own show, and you submit to a Fringe, that's how you get your stuff out there.
Yeah, and just to be blunt about it, you represent different voices in Singapore. Our major productions, God bless them, they make a lot of money. They're often Western productions with Western storylines, Western characters, and some of our local productions often to be more mainstream. Here you're doing things about Indian partition, or you'll do something about Malay culture. You're just giving a wider range of voices to the scene.
Yeah, 100%. And I've mentioned this again and again. I mean, this story, Eclipse, and especially from a Singaporean point of view about the Indian partition, it's such a unique perspective. And in Singapore, the community that may have ties to the partition are a small community, right? It's a minority within a minority. And our stories are rarely, if ever, told. So to have that opportunity to show that, and also from a Singaporean point of view, so it's not just an Indian story, it's a Singaporean point of view and angle on that. It's such a unique thing, and so especially with Eclipse, I mean, without the Fringe, how do we get stuff like that out there?
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
With this 21st edition of the Fringe Festival, the theme is displacement, whether it's people, homes, nature, whatever it is, and these 7 different works that are being performed, of which Eclipse and Am Seaweed are 2, obviously. January 8th to the 19th. Tickets start at $16. You can get it from the SingaporeFringe.com. What is the hope that you have for you professionally as you complete? Let's go to the 20th of January, and you've just had a successful run. Both of your things have major plaudits and applause and everything else. What do you hope this will do for your career, Cheryl?
I think, as I mentioned just now, it's because it's my first time, I guess, presenting my own independent work in Singapore. I would like for people to be more familiar with the work that I do.
Sure.
And also because it's such a personal story, I think also know me more personally as a theatre maker in that way, and have conversations, I guess, because the play talks so much about like hustle culture and thinking about the kind of life that we want for ourselves and around care, around I guess just, like I would love to have conversations around that as well.
Yeah. Last word to you, Shrey. How about you?
Well, for me, I don't like to think of my career as sort of like this progression heading towards some sort of nirvana or something like that.
Would you like to go downward?
No. What I mean to say by that is that for me, every time I do a show, right, it's always about having that connection with the audience, right? Whether it's on TV, film, or in the theater, to have that connection. And so with Eclipse, my hope is that as a one-man show, showcasing that I can hold a stage on my own throughout and have the audience stay with me and engage with me and be touched by the story, that's more than I could ask for. And if beyond that, the value is seen in me to bring that connection forward in any other production or film, TV, theater, whatever it may be, to tell a story that might have that impact or a different impact or something of a bigger impact. That's all I can hope for. I wouldn't say, I wish, now I've done a one-man show, so therefore I should be a lead in a show, now I should be a lead in a movie. No. I think for me, it's if the value of that connection can be recognized and pursued, that's all
nice.
I could hope for.
Shrey Bhargava and Cheryl Ho, thanks for being with us today. Good luck at the Fringe Festival this year.
Thank you.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.